Well, good morning. It's great to be back in Palm Beach County. Happy New Year to everybody. A little colder than we're used to in Florida, but that's okay. It's a lot colder in Tallahassee, I can tell you that right now. So you guys are lucky. We're here. We got a lot of folks joining us. We have our relatively new DEP Secretary, Alexis Lambert, is joining us. South Florida Water Management District Executive Director Drew Bartlett, Everglades Trust CEO Anna Upton, Everglades Foundation CEO Eric Eichenberg, Representatives Gossett, Seidman, and Weinberger from the Florida Legislature. And I know we got a lot of people from the district. I see Alligator Ron, I see Scott Wagner, Chauncey, a lot of folks. So thank you guys for what you've done. So 6 years ago tomorrow, 2019, January 10th, we outlined a very ambitious agenda to try to right the ship with respect to Everglades restoration and water quality in the state of Florida. And it was something that was very far-reaching. I think it was something that people thought sounded good, but nobody thought could actually be accomplished. And we basically never stopped ever since. So our goal at that time, and some of its policy, some of its resources, but our goal at the time was we were going to do $2.5 billion over the 4 years, which was $1 billion more than had been done over the previous 4 years, and we were able to not only meet that but exceed it. And so we did $3.3 billion towards Everglades and water quality projects from 2019 to January of 2023. Then we came 2 years ago tomorrow. We doubled down on that and said we're going to do even more. And we said, okay, we said $2.5 billion the first 4 years. Now, obviously, you have to do more because of inflation. All these things cost so much more. But we said we're going to do $3.5 billion. And we basically almost accomplished that in just 2 years all by itself. So this has been really, really significant. And the results have been extraordinary. And we got more work to do, but think about this. In 2019, we had just 57.1 billion gallons of water storage capacity within the Everglades region. We're soon going to be opening up the C-43 reservoir, and when that comes online, which will come online a little later this year, we will go from 57.1 billion to $176.1 billion. And just in time, obviously, for the rainy season this summer. So if you think back to what's happened in the Southwest Florida in 2018 with all the discharges, 2016 on the east coast of Florida, we've more than tripled the capacity, the storage capacity, because of our efforts. But we have a lot of projects that are in the hopper. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Everglades Agricultural Area Reservoir. We will be able to get to over 330 billion gallons of water storage capacity. So that's really, really significant. It helps with being able to, yes, prevent some of the discharges. It helps with Everglades restoration, the timing and distribution of flows into Everglades National Park and Florida Bay. All this stuff is really, really significant. And so that's been a huge, huge achievement, and we're going to keep it going. Now, the nutrients that are in the water. So since 2019, we've reduced nutrients and the amount of in terms of harmful nutrients in South Florida's waterways by 727,000 pounds per year of nitrogen and almost 500,000 pounds per year of phosphorus. So that's really, really big time in terms of how much that would be. These help protect, obviously, the drinking water, quality of water headed south to the Everglades. We've also had many, many other projects that have been really, really significant. Several years ago, we completed the Old Tamiami Trail roadbed removal project. That was done 6 months ahead of schedule. That's allowed more water to flow south into Everglades National Park. Next year, additional projects will be completed. And so by next year, we will have, in this period, since I became governor, increased the flow of water south by almost 65%. And that's what people have been talking about. I had them do this little thing. So you can see 2019, the amount of water that's flowing. and then where we are in 2024. And the blue means there's more water that is going and flowing south, and you see that really significantly. This is really how nature intended it to be. This was a result of a lot of human infrastructure and things that have been done. So that's really, really significant that we were able to get that done, and we'll continue to push forward on that. So if you look at all that, it's great, but what are some of the outstanding issues? And like I said, there's more that we want to do from the state, but if you look at the things that need to be done, it's almost all the federal government that just simply does not work the way Florida works. We see that in other states don't work the way Florida works, obviously with things that are in the news. Our view is like, we got the job to do, we want to get it done. We don't want to be bogged down by red tape. We don't want to be bogged down by bureaucracy. Once we make the decision that this is something in the interest of the state, we want to get it done as quickly as possible. That is not how some federal agencies like the Army Corps of Engineers approach things. I think they just have a much different thing. Look, I can't speak for them. It's not something I've ever been a part of. But I mean, I would not want to be known as the one part of government that's the slowest, right? I mean, I would want to be someone that says we're the fastest, but that's just not the way it does. So over the last 4 years, you've seen delays by the Interior Department and the Army Corps of Engineers. That has hindered the efforts than what we do. So we're doing what we pledged to do. So, for example, the EAA Reservoir, very important reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. We did the stormwater treatment area that the state handled. Obviously, most of that reservoir is a federal project that is done by the Army Corps of Engineers, and it's a significant project, but the reality is that they are not where we are in terms of the schedule. They're far below schedule when it does that. Now, it'll be a really significant project once it's completed, but they're just not on the same schedule that we are. So we want to move forward on the EAA Reservoir as quickly as possible, and I'll say what our proposal is in a minute on that. But if we're able to get that done, you're going to have massive more clean water that's going to be able to go south through the Everglades into Florida Bay. And just from what we've already done, we have had Florida Bay reach its salinity goals for the first time in decades. And a lot of people didn't think that was possible, so we were doing it. So we faced hurdles. If you look at the Comprehensive Everglade Restoration Plan, the SERP framework, it's supposed to be a 50-50 partnership between the state and the federal government. Yet under my tenure, Florida has done the lion's share of the work in terms of these goals. I really believe with the incoming administration, working with President-elect Donald Trump, we will be able to put better feet forward. And so we are going to be asking that the federal government delegate to the states the ability to take the federal funding, and we will manage these projects, and we will execute these projects on behalf of the federal government, because Lord knows we'll do it a hell of a lot quicker than they will do it. And when President Trump was in office the first time, he really helped us move forward on these priorities. I mean, I remember talking to him about Lake Okeechobee, and I said, I'm building infrastructure, but like if the Army Corps is discharging this water, and so he had the Army Corps manage the lake more, I think, in a balanced way, and it did mitigate some of the discharges that otherwise would have happened. And so he's been a strong partner with us during his first administration. We expect that to be the same going forward. We should manage federally funded SERP projects. We will restore the Everglades more quickly. We will save time, and we will save an awful lot of money. We can deliver this. And if you look at what's going on in California, yes, obviously you have an absentee mayor, governor, all these problems. But like, the Army Corps is responsible for part of the federal lands that are there. And I don't think that they've done what needs to be done in that respect either. So we already have the track record to prove that we can do this and do this very effectively. For example, the year Florida broke ground on 3 culvert structures, this year Florida broke ground on 3 culvert structures and is already pouring concrete to move water south through the Big Cypress Preserve at a cost of $46.7 million. 4 years ago, the Army Corps broke ground on 3 different culverts to move water into Everglades National Park, but is yet to pour any concrete for those culverts, and that project has cost $20 million more than Florida's, and that's prior to the record inflation that we've seen over the last several years. Another example is found on STAs, stormwater treatment areas. These are important components to the regional water system to ensure the cleanliness and removal of harmful nutrients from stormwater runoff. In mid-2020, Florida broke ground on a 65-acre STA for $27,000 per acre and finished construction in 2024, completing 130 acres of construction per month. In 2022, by contrast, the Army Corps broke ground on a much smaller 2,000-acre STA for $68,000 per acre, and the estimated completion is January 2026 at only 42 acres per month. While Florida has moved billions in projects to construction, the Army Corps is sitting on money so long at times that they've lost congressional authority to even spend the money anymore. And if you look at this so-called infrastructure bill that was passed in 2021, it provided $1.1 billion to the Corps for CERT projects, yet a bill passed in 2021, the Corps did not use any of the funds for construction until 3 years later, September of 2024. So our record of getting the job done is second to none. In Everglades National Park, we took over the construction of a seepage barrier to keep water in the park to protect communities from flooding, and the result, the construction was completed 7 years ahead of schedule. Florida also took over a project to double the capacity of water flowing into Everglades National Park. The result, construction was completed 6 years ahead of schedule. In the Central Everglades, the state took over construction of a critical feature of the Central Everglades Planning Project from the Corps. The structure will provide a new flowway to restore balanced flow between the Central Everglades, Everglades National Park, and Florida Bay. Construction will begin this year, and that project will be completed years ahead of schedule. So this is something that I think makes a lot of sense. Now, one of the things that we did under the first Trump administration was we assumed authority on this so-called 404 permitting, which basically allowed the state to permit consistent with federal, and there's a whole myriad of federal laws, and so we're able, you have to follow the law, but you can take it and you can get the permits, projects permitted quicker. That affects a lot of things. That affects private businesses, but it does affect our ability to do these Everglades projects. And we've seen a slowdown since this got tangled up in the courts under the Biden administration, where we're no longer able to exercise that 404 authority. So we would like to have that back. Obviously, there may be still some litigation, but empower us to get the job done, and we will make it happen. And that'll be, I'm going to be with the president-elect tonight with some other governors, and I think his attitude in terms of when I've been talking to him recently is, tell us what you want. You know, we want you guys to be successful. We want to empower the states. So we're going to hopefully enter a period where we have really strong federalism, where states are able to lead on these things. And you know, the federal bureaucracy at this point, you know, I wonder whether even if they were totally aligned with us, could they even get the job done on some of these things in times that make sense? And I question whether that could even be done. So send us the funds, give us the authority, and let us get to work, and we will get this done and move it along very, very quickly. Now, we're hopeful for that. I think that would be a great partnership between the federal government and the state of Florida, but we also know we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're not going to turn back. We're not going to just sit there and complain that the feds aren't sending us money. And that's the one thing I've always said about this is, you have a better opportunity to get federal support to complement what you're doing if you show you have skin in the game. And we've done, I talked about the record funding. You know, we could just sit here and say, oh, the federal government, you know, should be doing. We've gone above and beyond what we were ever expected to do, and we're proud to do that. And so we're not asking the feds to take over anything we should be doing. We're simply saying help live up to your end of the bargain. So I'm going to be releasing my budget for the next fiscal year very, very soon. And I'm happy to be able to say that we will continue to be strong stewards of not only Everglades, but conservation writ large in the state of Florida. And we will be dedicating a new record, $805 million for Everglades restoration, including, yes, big. We will also continue to recommend funding for water quality projects across the state, including funding to clean water along the Kissimmee River before it reaches Lake Okeechobee, which is something that's very practical. And a lot of the nutrients that got into Lake Okeechobee that would end up in the St. Lucie or the Caloosahatchee in prior years, you know, a lot of those nutrients were coming from Central Florida and, you know, Disney World and all this other stuff. And so being able to head that off really, really makes a lot of sense. So we're looking forward to January 20th. We think that there's a whole host of issues that we're going to be able to work very constructively with the second Trump administration on, and particularly when it comes to these really, really important restoration efforts. This is the largest restoration anywhere in the country by far. And we've had a lot of people that have been working a lot of hard on it. Obviously, we got our board members here from South Florida Water Management District. We've had a lot of great partners in the Florida legislature, and this is something that's really, and then of course the agencies that have been involved with state government have worked really, really hard, and we've had a strong pace. We expect them to keep a strong pace, because I think that's what the people of Florida expect. You know, there's certain expectations. I think in other parts of the country, people get into office and they don't really do anything. You know, for us, it's like, okay, you're here, you have limited time, make the most of it. Leave a legacy, get things done. And we have a great, I think, can-do spirit here in the state of Florida. So really, really significant to be here almost 6 years to the day after we initially launched this really, really bold agenda. We've delivered on those promises, and actually over-delivered on the promises, because we've been able to secure way more funding than anyone thought was reasonable or possible at the time, and we've been able to move these projects forward in really, really significant fashion. So thanks to everybody that's been involved. I think we're going to have another great year working with the legislature to advance these priorities in terms of the budget, and I really, really think that we have a possibility to have a really strong path forward, working with the federal government, and hopefully being able to have these tasks delegated to the state of Florida so that we can go ahead and get the job done. Okay, we're going to hear from some of our speakers today, so we'll start with Secretary Alexis Lambert.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor. I'm Alexis Lambert, and I have the privilege of serving as the Secretary for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the Governor for his visionary and steadfast leadership on Florida's environmental priorities. Under his direction, as he said, Florida has invested a record $3.3 billion in Everglades restoration, surpassing the previous 12 years combined, and we're seeing the benefits of those investments. In 2024 alone, we celebrated some major milestones: the completion of the Everglades Agricultural Area Stormwater Treatment Project, the completion of a new water seepage barrier, and the groundbreaking for the first major feature of the Western Everglades Restoration Project. As the Governor said, since 2019, 75 Everglades restoration projects have either been completed, broken ground, or hit a major milestone. Once fully operational, these projects will result in an annual reduction of more than 727,000 pounds of nitrogen and 488,000 pounds of phosphorus. By the end of the year, we will have tripled South Florida's water storage capacity to 176 billion gallons. It's inspiring to reflect on what we've done, while we recognize there is still much more important work to do. As Secretary of DEP, my role is to help safeguard Florida's natural resources and ensure taxpayer dollars are wisely invested. Funding is critical, but efficiency and expertise are equally important. Florida has proven it can manage restoration projects more efficiently than the federal government, saving both time and money. Floridians understand the Everglades better than anyone else. We live, work, and recreate here. We are committed to the land that sustains this. While federal partnership is important in these projects, layers of bureaucracy slow progress and drive up costs. Everglades projects under the Corps oversight take on average more than a year to begin construction, with some more complex projects taking far longer, multiple years, with no start in sight. In contrast, we can begin in approximately 4 months on average, nearly a third of the time that it takes the Corps. Construction delays lead to cost increases. Every year of delay adds an estimated 6% or more to the total cost of a project. We have the expertise, we have the urgency, and we have the determination to get the job done. Delays aren't just experienced during construction. Hundreds of 404 permit applications have been disrupted, delaying essential public infrastructure, energy, stormwater, medical, school facility projects, including many projects related to Everglades restoration. Florida processed 404 permits for Everglades projects in nearly half the time that it takes the Corps, with the same level or more protections. Florida's 404 program was a bipartisan, collaborative application of the Clean Water Act and accomplished more for Florida's environment and economy without unnecessary red tape. Well-equipped states should have the ability to regulate, protect, and restore their own resources. I'm very proud of what Florida is accomplishing, not only in the Everglades, but also in our efforts to improve water quality and strengthen our coastlines. Thank you, Governor, for your unwavering support.
Thank you, Secretary. I'm Drew Bartlett, Executive Director of the South Florida Water Management District. Governor, when you took office 6 years ago, you did some bold moves, and you haven't lost a step. You are continuing to be bold, and that was the word we've used ever since. So 6 years ago, an executive order was issued that said we're going to achieve more now for Everglades restoration. And then he put in this awesome governing board that made their very first decision, which was also awesome in hiring me, personal opinion. But we have been laser focused. It was exciting times, a direction to achieve more now, funding to achieve more now. It was a great 4 years, but we weren't done. On your second term, you came in with another executive order that said achieve even more now, and here's even more money, and that excitement turned to stress. I'm kidding. We were very excited for this opportunity because we did want to do that. The 1,500 people at the district did want to do that. Now, in that executive order, you said, look for opportunities of projects the Corps of Engineers is the lead on and see what you can take over. Because we want to send more water south, we want to protect lake levels in Lake Okeechobee and prevent discharges, and we want to protect the Indian River Lagoon. So we did that. We took over a massive reservoir in St. Lucie County to protect the Indian River Lagoon. We're ready to start construction. We're also waiting on a federal permit. We took over the pump station for the EAA reservoir. That's got to be done for that reservoir to work. We took over a structure, just last board meeting in December, we took over a structure to further uncork Tamiami Trail and get water to Florida Bay. That wasn't scheduled to start until 2027. We'll start this year. And then for Lake Okeechobee and the estuary discharges, Northern Storage has been on the Corps' docket since 2016, trying to get it authorized by Congress. We took over a massive above-ground reservoir project, started planning right after your executive order, and that got authorized in 2022. The Corps schedule is 2028 for that. So we did it in 2 years. So this is stuff we're doing. We are a nimble organization. The state can get things done, and we're seeing the results. The governor showed you how much more water we're sending south. We haven't had a lost summer, right? We've been managing the lake. The estuary discharges from the lake are greatly reduced. It's as great times. We are in a golden age of Everglades restoration as we sit here right now. But it's not just environmental restoration. This is resiliency. This is preparing Florida for the future. It is keeping water in our system for not only the environment, but for people. So it's important to get it done now. It's important to get it done expeditiously. And so the 1,500 people at the South Florida Water Management District appreciate your leadership. We appreciate the leadership of the legislature of getting us the money, because we're delivering and we're getting the job done, and we're very excited about it. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Anna Upton, CEO of the Everglades Trust. I'm thrilled to be here today to talk about Governor DeSantis' historic commitment to Everglades restoration. He understands that Florida's economy depends on clean water, and since day one, he's been laser focused on delivering results for Floridians, from expediting major restoration projects to adopting a new lake regulation schedule to raising Tamiami Trail. The progress has been unlike anything we've ever seen in the history of Everglades restoration. He's given the South Florida Water Management District marching orders to expedite Everglades restoration, and I'm proud to say the district has delivered. It is the best local sponsor for water projects in the whole country. You can't have a better partner than the district. They can build water resources projects faster and at a lower cost. So we fully support having block grants to the district to carry out the comprehensive Everglades restoration plan. Because of Governor DeSantis' leadership, we are closer to seeing Everglades restoration fulfilled, and that is why I have taken to calling Governor DeSantis America's Everglades governor. He made a promise when he came into office to do all that he could to advance restoration, and he has delivered on that promise. We look forward to working with the Florida legislature and hopefully Congress to deliver the funding needed to keep the historic momentum going, allowing us to leave America's Everglades to the next generation better than it is today. Governor DeSantis, we would not be here without you and your strong leadership on Everglades restoration, and for that we are extremely grateful. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate everybody's involvement. We are hopeful that we are going to be empowered to really take on more responsibility over these issues. I think that we have a great track record of delivering projects in very quick time, and when someone is not doing well, we get rid of the contractor and we figure out what needs to go going forward. Another area we're going to ask for some additional authority. We manage the fishing for red snapper in the Gulf and have been doing that now for a number of years. The feds manage the Atlantic. We do like I just did 102 days of red snapper, Gulf red snapper. The federal government does 2 days in the Atlantic, yet the supply in the Gulf is abundant, fishermen are doing well, everything's going well, and yet they're doing this. They don't have accurate data. You talk to the fishermen, they see all the fish there, and the federal government says there's no fish there. So we would be able to manage that, I think, in a much better way. And I think we'd be able to expand opportunities for folks to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy some of these pastimes. So we're anytime we can take responsibility to be able to do some of these things, we're going to be doing it, and I think we're going to have opportunities to be empowered. We weren't really empowered over the last 4 years. We had a lot of roadblocks thrown in our way for a variety of issues, even some of these issues where you'd think that there would be strong support across any type of partisan stuff. It just tended not to work that way. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of good stuff coming up here in a couple weeks, and Florida will be ready, and we'll execute, and we will get the job done. Okay, anybody have any questions? All right, well, let's get it done. God bless everybody. Good to see ya.